without losing any further time, I would like to request basically for the paucity of time and further elaborate interactions, because two parts of the entire debate, the academy and the industry. VC sir had critically commented on the role of industry so far, that they have escaped from their responsibility in mitigating this employability gap. And as sir said, I can make my student employable when he is a graduate in 2010, but what happens in 2010? And Dusad sir, he wholeheartedly accepted, there has been a gap on the industry part as well. And in fact, one of our deliberations, when we were in his boardroom, we were discussing all about these minute shades he was mentioning about. He accepted that, what do you think, industry just thinks of a quarter. Now, it was a startling news for us. And academia has to nurture a student for 4 years, first year, second year, third year, final year. And the industry thinks only for a quarter. So then we said, and when we were talking about the 200 colleges, the IT seats are not filled, and all that scenario which was being quoted. So then we said, sir, then the normal farmers and the merchants and the traders of my tier 2, tier 3 cities, they understand the pulse much better. Because until or unless we strengthen it, we stabilize it. So if we don't provide a stability, why the youngsters will stick up and continue with that job option. So I feel we have got a very, very eminent and very strong panel today, where both our topics like industry's outreach to educational campuses, what have been the efforts, the challenges which have been faced, and the way forward. And the academia's imbroglio in mitigating the employability gap. So because of the paucity of time and all, I propose to merge both these sessions together and invite the panelists for this session. Professor Kripa Shankar, please, sir. Vishnu, sir, please. We have Dr. Y.R. Singh with us. Dr. Y.R. Singh? Okay, okay. Dr. Y.R. Singh is the Executive Director of the Alkaline Manufacturers Association of India. So he comes from the chemical background. Mr. Lokesh Mehra from Microsoft. Mr. Saurabh Bagharia from, he's the Chief Technological Officer of DataWord India. Mr. Saurabh Bagharia. I would like to invite Mr. Virendra Grover. Virendra sir? Virendra sir looks after the corporate industry academy interaction at IPAC College, Ghaziabad. Professor G.P. Govil from Ideal. Professor Govil is the director of the Ideal Institute of Technology. We call it as IIT Ghaziabad. So, Professor Govil. A new registrar of the Mahamaya Technical University, Mr. Pushyapati Saxena. I think I am done with the list. Now, before just setting out and to moderate this entire hotted discussion, I would invite Mr. Ravi Gupta. Ravi sir is the editor-in-chief of Digital Learning magazine, and as we would be announcing later on, he has patronized our entire UPTU Watch initiative, and together with Digital Learning and UPTU Watch would be moving ahead in mitigating this information asymmetry, as we have been mentioning about. Before I just hand over to Ravi sir, I would just give a brief presentation on as to what has been our journey so far and what have been the challenges, just to set out the perspective, because we have been like running from pillar to post, interacting with both the corporate and our small domain of Uttar Pradesh techno-managerial educational institutions. So our first initiative was just to see, like UP has been, because of its political and social conditions, it is quite on the media limelight, but for all the wrong reasons. We felt, is there something to take pride in? Someone in Mumbai, a political, was talking about the bhaiyas from UP, and there was a Mumbai-based publication, which it's a very eminent publication from there, and they had published an engineering admissions guide 2 years back. And over there they mentioned that UPTU is a university full of flaws. And if you are opting for a career in engineering and technology from UP, It's a gamble, nothing more than a gamble. Those were some strong comments, so we felt why not objectively analyze the same. So we just had an association with Meritrack and did a quick dipstick study. We took the 50 top colleges of the UPTU framework, out of which 9 colleges responded back, 1500 students. It was a small sample size, but a dipstick study was produced which said very boldly, you have with you one flyer and at the back Times of India Agra editions clipping is there, that the engineering talent pool of Uttar Pradesh is significantly better than the national average. So this was quite a relief. At least अगर वो 19 भी होता यूपी का talent, so that was at least a kind of an objective assessment. So employability, as VC sir mentioned, that once an abstract noun comes into play, its definition becomes very difficult. So it took us really a tough time, almost a period of around 9 months, to push it in the colleges. The only word in the colleges people understand is placements. Right from the students to their training and placement officers, to the directors, to the chairman, everyone, the single burning question in the campus is, यार placement करवा दो. Placement के नाम पे भैया किसी को भी भगवान बना देंगे. Placements was the central question. But the term employability, there was an huge information asymmetry pertaining to the term employability itself. So the first challenge was just to mitigate it. We brought out our second issue on the entire question of employability. It makes sense, like employability gap we all understand in this audience, but just to give a perspective about this, another abstract term called information asymmetry. When I was compiling this presentation, Ravi sir said it looks very academic and complex. I said, sir, it's a symposium of academicians. So let it be academic and complex, because until or unless the terminology is instigated, it goes well within and its meaning, because language wise we are really going in a very, very poor fashion. So just I want to give an example. I drew my inspiration for this colorful slide. Sir said make it a bit colorful. I said what about more than Mahabharata, which has all the colors from blood, sweat, all the colors. And one of the shlokas in Mahabharata, it translates as whatever is here is found elsewhere. But what is not here is nowhere else. I felt, let me try out whether this information asymmetry is there in Mahabharata or not. So just 2 incidents straight away came to me. One was the slaying of Jarasandha, the king of the Magad, where Krishna provided that he bridged that vital information asymmetry by telling Bhima that if you tear Jarasandha from between, don't throw it straight away, just make it across. So that was a vital information bridging he did. The other was during the slaying of Dronacharya. Dronacharya was one of the key warriors from the Kuru dynasty, representing that without his slaying nothing could have been done. So Krishna played another game and he said he got an elephant by the name of Ashwathama killed. And then he asked Yudhishthira, the Dharmaraj who never spoke any lie, to just say that Ashwathama hato. And when Yudhishthira was talking about Narova Kunjarova, he blew his conch shell away. So he created an information asymmetry. So at one place, he mitigated an information asymmetry, and at one place, he created an information asymmetry, and that's how the war was tilted in favor of the Pandavas. So the information power is actually something which is certainly ruling the world today. I was in a conference in Banaras 3 weeks back, and that was an eminent gathering of all the social activists from all across the country. They said in the last 20 years, 2 decades, the kind of transformation this global economy has happened, like all the brick and mortar and all that heavy investment industries, they have gone away. ICT has just taken over as a Maya. It's like nobody is understanding, and the change, the pace at which things are going to become a 1 billion company. I would ask Dusad sir, like it was, and big other industries to acquire this stature. Like Facebook come just in 2000, in the late stages of 2000, it's a big venture that way. Another classic example of information asymmetry comes from Ramayana. Like Vibhishana provided the vital information to Rama that howsoever powerful you are, until or unless you hit Ravana at a particular spot, you cannot kill him. So just telling you across, it's a very, very simple term, but it has got very profound and universal, I will say, implications. Just go through, like, why are the interest rate often excessively high on the local lending markets in third world countries? Like, borrowers know more than the lender about their repayment properties. These are some of the intriguing questions, And the common explanations we all know. These are in the placement, the desire which has given to you. So information asymmetry has been a Nobel Prize winning theory, which, as Sir also mentioned, in 2001 it gave the Nobel Prize for 3 eminent economists on this for their analysis of information asymmetric markets. So the idea is very simple. It deals with the study of decisions in transactions where one party has more or better information than the other. This creates an imbalance of power in transactions, which can sometimes cause the transactions to go awry. Just the classic example which Michael Spence, one of the prize winners and in this domain, an employer is interested in hiring a new employee who is skilled in learning. Of course, all prospective employees will claim to be skilled at learning, but only they know if they really are. Now this is an information asymmetry. So just to go about, now the implication is very, very dangerous. Like this is what is happening today and which has happened in 2010 admissions in the UPTU itself, for which Dusad sir is extremely, I will say, concerned. 200 colleges, IT graduates going down. So in such an information asymmetric market, it's eventually going to a deadlock. People will not pursue the IT industry. There is a gap. Because of the lack of bridging, students don't know what will happen 4 years down the line, and they will opt for mechanical, electronics, and all that stuff. So now on the theoretical side, just coming to very important solutions which have been offered by the scholars, and this is where UPTU Watch has been endeavoring for it. One is the signaling option. Degree used to be a signaling option ki I am from IIT, I am from IIM, I am from NITs, so I would be a good quality candidate. I can be taken over by the industry in a big way. Secondly, screening, which industry has been doing it, taking its pre-placement tests and all that stuff, the screening part of it. And eventually, the signaling part of it can be now taken over by the third-party certifications. For example, NASSCOM has come up with their NACTAC certification. Let a third party say, okay, this student has got these many of skill sets, and they can be employed in that fashion. And screening is obviously what industry is actually doing it across. So just giving across, UPTU Watch has, like since February 2010, 7 issues in print have come. I talked about the first issue. The second was on this vital employability gap. And from Dusad sir, implications, what I felt is it's more a question of values and more a question of, we are lacking one very important speaker today, Mr. Nituj Gupta. He talked like if you can let a student sit in the college from 9 to 8, celebrated the decadal anniversary of UPTU, and VC sir in his characteristic style said you have given us a lot of assignment to fulfill, and as a worthy auditor he has been following all through our progress very silently, whether these students are performing to the mark or not. So eventually it was admissions Mahakumbh. Now this issue carries a very, very interesting article. This is in your placement desire itself. It is rolled out in the right fashion. It is by Dr. Love Varshney, an MIT graduate who actually brought this entire term. This was an inspiration for us. We brought it in that. Then for the freshers, we took inspiration from movie Three Idiots and tried to replicate their characters, their positive spirit, and how to live it on the campuses, because students were feeling like a bit tough. Ye kya badi badi baatein kar rahe hain? They are not talking in our language. And eventually this time it is like analyzing UPTU in a black and white perspective, like a lot of inputs from the campuses and all. Now to mitigate the information asymmetry, the first challenge was to create a channel of information sharing. Interestingly, there are 700 plus colleges in the entire UP technical framework with 14 private universities now in the entire state. Was how to communicate with them. Like even today we are facing the problem of sending mailers to all the colleges. So then we created a UPTU mail service in association with Microsoft Live at Edu. Then how to bring students on a single, very serious social media platform. Social media is being taken as a very serious way of information sharing. There has to be. So we tied up with Ning and created our customized social media framework, UPTU Watch Universe. Then an SMS channel was also created so that timely information can be directed for it. Alumni and faculty are the other vital components in this entire process of teaching and learning. So bringing together the alumni on a single platform, bringing together the alumni, which is 10 lakh plus in the UPTU fraternity. It was a big challenge. And interestingly, UPTU helpline, we just released a press release during the admission session in only NCR, and we started getting 1,000 calls even from NCR. And people were not even aware of the basic answers to the fundamental questions. This was a big eye-opener for us. Such a huge information asymmetry, as we use the term. Again, which branch of engineering to choose? Why to choose? Why to do engineering at all? None of these questions, people don't have an answer for it. So we tried to address a large number of queries, whatever we could. We published these admissions guide. It was for the first time. We brought out very meticulous material. We compiled the information about all the 600 colleges, giving the base information about engineering, because as sir said, a large number of first generation engineers are coming all through from the hinterland. So they don't know what is engineering all about, what is management all about, which branch to choose across. In the same fashion, there was a huge information asymmetry between the government schemes. A large number of students, this year, like a large number of seats are vacant in the colleges. One characteristic aspect came because of the recession and the growing inflation. I will say the income levels have gone very down. The fees have increased very high. A large number of colleges are providing discount on their tuition fee. Government of Uttar Pradesh has its own scholarship things. So, but things are not really reaching out to the students. So what we felt, mitigate it across, and we launched this UPTU Watch MCM. MCM was a scholarship we used to get in our colleges way back at IIT. But something of that sort is certainly lacking. So maybe sir can take a lead and establish a kind of a scholarship fund where, like, from the admission day itself, they can screen it out from their MIS, who are the students who are quite below, and they can be offered financial help. 1 lakh rupees per year is certainly a very decent amount for a small town person to just having over there. We also created a channel whereby a large number of professionals have their weekends free. After a couple of years in their industry, they start feeling bored, what to do over there. They wanted to do something meaningful in a thematic domain, meaningful to some of their, I will say, like the city they belong to, they want to do something over there. We felt, why not create a platform where the energy of these people, because our lives transform because we got a mentor at some point or the other in our life. Our educational system, like today, we have only teachers that way, but not a one-on-one mentor. So this is a kind of an exercise where we want to bring together the professionals and the students in a big way. On a similar forefront, today itself I got very positive response from the global IIT fraternity. The idea was, we shared this idea with VC sir last time. He also heads the IIT Kanpur Alumni Association. IIT Kanpur celebrated its 50 years last year. So, this year. So we have 3 eminent IIT Kanpur people, Professor Kripa Shankar, Viren Grover sir and Ravi Gupta sir himself. So idea was, IITians hailing from the state of Uttar Pradesh, why not they getting linked up and providing mentorship to the institutions and individuals located in their own vicinity. People coming from Mathura, they can take up one or the other college in Mathura and giving their mentorship over there. So this has been kind of one of the other initiatives we are carrying across, so that a global audience is mentoring the local audience, that information asymmetry bridging aspect of it. A large number of learning channels we have created. For example, NPTEL, a very big workshop happened at IIT Kanpur, but recently when we met one of the directors of a very eminent college, and that college happens to have digitized all its classrooms, one of our pioneering colleges that way, and the information was not there that there is something called NPTEL, which they can implement over there. They have invested more than 10 lakhs in upgrading their 18 classrooms by giving them projectors and computers and all that stuff. But the knowledge is lacking over there. So we just created this UPTU Watch Academia, where all the 1500 courses in the UPTU framework, sorry to say so, but the official UPTU website, the syllabus is all very unstructured. Just in order to compile the syllabus of one branch of engineering, say computer science and engineering, you have to browse through the entire page, compile it across. The names of the files are haywire. So I don't feel any student is going to download and do it. Even a faculty member will take it difficult. We have compiled all it in a very seamless fashion and moving it ahead. Another, a trainers network. Similarly, a lot of young professionals who have 8 to 10 years of industry experience, they are all returning back. And everyone who comes back, he feels, कुछ करना है, तो नौकरी तो बहुत कर ली, let us move into education. A huge talent base is there in the national capital, in all the metros, who have entered into the training domain. But because of a lack of a channel, because of a lack of introduction, even their valuable services are not being able to reach to the intended audience. What happens is even the big brands who have come, as I said, in the employability training market, they have spoiled up. They don't deliver to the level over there. So there is a lot of hesitation and hindrance from the colleges to accept their services. So kind of a trainers network we have created. Projects are a very, very vital component in giving the students a live experience as to what industry actually requires for. Nobody knows कि मैं जाके वहाँ किसी भी company में जाके मैं करूँगा क्या. So over here we have tied up with a professional project management software. It's a SaaS model thing. So it gives an industry experience. A lot of live projects we propose to bring in over here, so that the entire 8 months which students spend in the campus, in their BTech final year projects, they can actually work on industry grade projects. Thankfully, Nucleus Institute of Banking Technology, as Dusad sir was just slightly hinting, they are planning to host around 3 batches of 30 students each in 3 locations, Mathura, Meerut and Greater Noida. So the idea is like the students' BTech final year project will be monitored by the professionals from Nucleus. So they can actually tell them what are the various domains of software, what is the slight difference between one domain and the other domain and all that stuff. So that is just a beginning. Maybe more industries can tie up in this model for us. So this is a platform which we have created to bring the professionals from the industry and the students so that they can do something meaningful over there. What we feel is that movies, books are a great learner also, because they inspire and made you like aspire. So we have created 2 clubs, movie clubs and book clubs. We have tied up with Marva Studios and planning to organize a educational film festival. VC sir talked about the advent of educational journalism. The way environmental journalism has come in a big way. There are big associations of environmental journalists. So why not have something, people in the domain of educational journalism coming through. So these are some of the channels which we have done it. To just add further value to it, one other thing was a huge amount of projects and talent pool requirement is in the developmental sector. We have on our board of patrons one Mr. Madhaswamy Moni. He is the Deputy Director of National Informatics Center. A large number of government projects which will actually, apart from the global demand for IT, there is a huge domestic demand which is latent. Nobody knows about it. There is a mission from Ministry of Information Technology to create 1 lakh common service centers all across the country. But there are not many professionals who can certainly take it up. The developmental sector is not seen as a viable employment option. So this was one of our initiatives to bridge the developmental sector and the academia. As I said, like it was a tough time for us to define the term employability. It was an abstract term. We talked about a straightaway thing called placements. So keeping all these aspects into mind, what we felt, you can get placed. A pertinent placement you can get, provided the information asymmetry between the colleges and the corporates, it can be mitigated. So under this entire initiative and drive, we have thought of an integrated, I will say, work plan whereby a placement desire, which would be talking about the huge talent pool which we have in Uttar Pradesh. It took us almost a huge amount of time to compile how many students in which region, which location, which branch are available. Now, one place information is not there. UP is perhaps not on the placement map of the major IT companies just because of this lack of organized data. If we can just organize it, publish it, tell that there are 1,32,498 installed seats, out of which BTech has 92,593. Companies can think of, out of their things, ki 10%, 25%, 50% to employable honge. That way, a major drive will start happening. We have thought of placement meets and placement fairs in 8 major locations of the state. Abhi, all the industry related affairs, sorry to say, but industry is just concentrated in the metros. Delhi se 200 kilometer dur jaane mein bhi thoda sa sochna padta hai. So we just want to challenge that mindset if India has to really grow, if talent has to really come, it will come from the hinterland. In urban centers, like they are oversaturated, यहाँ पे events, यहाँ पे करने से अच्छा, like let us create these waves. As sir used the word movement, employability movement. So it requires like waves coming from all across the state. Placement certifications, which I mentioned, like the signaling effect. The colleges can say my student is XYZ certified. For example, NESCOM has this test called NECTAG. It's a NECTAG certified test. So the faith in the HR comes, ki haan, this student is of some quality. Placement report, as we mentioned, we plan to release a major placement report. Dusad sir was critical about the small sample size of 1500. We said, sir, we will compile a bigger report of 20,000 students in December this year after these many students have gone through the NECTAG certification. So that will give the clearer picture as to what the talent pool is actually lacking on the objective parameters. So that will give VC sir a pride ki mera bachcha itte parameters mein to acha hai bhaiya. You have to mitigate the other parameters. So another interesting thing, we have like created a platform for assessments. If companies have special requirements for their screening, they can use this platform so that students can score up on that test, and that score will be merged up with their CV and all that stuff. So this is the whole universe of UP Technical University, like small font, you can see it across. Some other small efforts to mitigate the information asymmetry. We created a extra edge communication suite just to tell the colleges that it does not cost you a huge money. It's just free. If you can install Google Apps or Microsoft Live at Edu and give a mail ID to all your students on your domain name. It's a great association. Till our time, these facilities were not available. If someone can give me raghav@iitkgp.earnet.in, I would keep that mail ID for life. But in 2004, this was not available. But today, it just requires a small integration on the part of the college IP management to just do it, just to take a Ning network to create a customized thing. So this way we have been doing it, advocating on the 4 major portfolios. College management is all about governance, infrastructure management, intellectual capital, and interface. On the GIQ parameters, we have been grading. In fact, in our admissions guide, we tried to compile very objectively. We said we can only profile the colleges, we cannot rank them, because ranking has somehow become, both VC sir and Dusad sir have mentioned the positives and negatives of their own academia and the, I will say, the industry part of it. But the aberrations which are there in the media segment itself, which we have encountered ourselves, they are phenomenal. There was a demand from colleges that we will pay you this much, you give us this much of rank. We felt that giving a rank is a superstition. You cannot rank people, you can only profile them into some grades. This college is coming up to these standards and all. And very interestingly, the last effort which has been there, the role and contribution of the educational entrepreneurs. In UP, the establishment of such a huge educational infrastructure would not have been possible without the proactive approach of the educational entrepreneurs. They have not even invested their money. They are being criticized by all the other stakeholders. They are never considered to be a stakeholder in the entire system. The administrators generally, they look, I will say, look aside the role of the educational entrepreneur who eventually has put in his hard-earned money into the educational system. So we have been trying to profile how people started, initiated, and grew this entire educational ecosystem in UP. So this has been some of our clippings, and also this is the whole, I will say, a whole value proposition in the entire domain, right from admissions, academics, training, projects, and placements. This is the entire educational value chain where we are trying to mitigate the small information asymmetry which are happening in the thematic areas, and between these various stakeholders, the administrators, the faculty, the alumni, the owners, the students, and eventually between the colleges and the corporates. So this is what a humble initiative on our part. Now I hand over the proceedings to, these have been some of our strategic partnerships in various things. And just to announce you, it gives us immense pleasure that we have tied up with Digital Learning, which under the gamut of ELETS, Technomedia, and CSDMS, it runs 4 major publications in the e-governance, e-health, and educational domain, which is digital learning. So the national presence and policy level outreach of digital learning will certainly help initiatives like UPTU Watch to consolidate their entire value offering and take the entire vision to implementation.